Hey folks, welcome back to the shop. Frank here. I've got a short little video today. I've got a new tool I want to share with you. I'd like your opinions about it compared to the alternatives. So let me show you what I got. This is the Festool Rotex RO125. Now, to be honest with you, I haven't normally bought high-end tools like this. I mean, Festool's got to be one of the most expensive tool brands on the market. Now, last year I did break down and buy a Festool track saw and dust extractor. And I've been really happy with them. You know, it was a cordless track saw. So happy with that stuff, especially the dust extractor. I've used it with some other tools, and it works great. So I have no issue with it. So this is a sander. Now I bought this because I was getting pretty frustrated with this. So the dust collection on these DeWalt tools is, you know, almost non-existent. I mean, it has a little bag that goes on it like this. I mean, it maybe catches 10% of the dust it makes. All right. And I've got this one, which, you know, has a little porous cup on it, which, you know, tries to catch some dust. But of course, you wouldn't expect the onboard dust collection to work like a tool with a vacuum attached to it would work. But neither one of these will accept the dust extractor, the Festool dust extractor hose connection. I mean, I don't know what these different sizes are for, but neither one fits the dust extractor. Now I have taped a shop vac hose to these, you know, at times, but you know, it's not that great. So of course these are random orbital, high-speed random orbital sanders. This one's older. This one's maybe 10 years old. This one's probably 25 years old, something, or even more. So, I mean, they have worked. I've used them, but they do put a lot of dust in the air. So that's always a concern. All right. The other sander is this that I have and have used is this Porter cable. Now this is a 6-inch, these are 5-inch. And this does come with a small hose that the dogs have chewed up the end. But using a shop vac, the dust extraction with this is, you know, semi-reasonable. So, I mean, it's kind of a small hose, so you do need a shop vac with some high suction, static suction pressure. And then I have to tape this to my shop vac hose. So this again is a random orbital sander. Removes considerably more wood than these, and you know, I've used this like for sanding my porch floor before I painted it. So I mean, it does work pretty well. And actually, let's see. No, I used my belt sander on the concrete apron outside my basement door, hooked up to my new Festool dust extractor. So, you know, these are random orbital sanders. All right, I've got one more. This is very similar to this Porter cable. Matter of fact, they look identical, pretty close. Only this is a random orbital polisher. So, and then of course this is falling apart here. I do have a new disc for this, I put a new pad on this one last week or 2 weeks ago, and I got a new pad for here as well. I haven't put on. So anyway, so this is a polisher, you know, as you might use for your boat or your car or whatever. All right. So of course this does not have dust extraction. It's one of the differences between the sander and the polisher. This has a shroud and holes to pick up dust, whereas this one, you know, doesn't. So normally a polisher you wouldn't expect to see that. So okay, so those are the 4 tools I've had for decades and have used. Okay, so this is the new thing. It is a totally different format. I guess it's similar to this. Put your hand around the body to use this. So you put your hand around the body to use that. And it's a 5-inch sander polisher. So it's supposed to do both. All right, so, you know, looking at the information panel here inside the box, it shows it used as a sander here and as a polisher, and giving you, you know, the types of pads you should use, types of compound, that sort of thing. So this has the capability of both, and it matches up with the dust extractor hose, the Festool dust extractor hose. Okay, so when I bought this, I was thinking it was a sander primarily. And I opened the box and look at this, and it's all the stuff about polishing. And I said, gee, I didn't realize that it was designed for both. All right, so this one, of course, is held like this, same as you would hold these, though it's a little smaller in diameter than these. I mean, there's some difference in weight, but, you know, it's not a huge. This is pretty heavy. I mean, heavy compared to these little sanders. So, as a polisher, you know, I think this handle, side handle, is kind of important, especially when you're doing, of course, this is 6-inch, right? Whereas this is 5-inch. So maybe, you know, the one hand hold, or I guess you could hold it here, but it doesn't have a side handle for like working on a vertical surface. So I would say this is really better for a horizontal surface compared to, you know, something like this where you have better control, especially in polishing mode. Okay, so let's put this together and see how it works. All right, so let's see what comes in the box. Of course, you get the sander, one piece of sandpaper, 80 grit. Warranty card. Instruction book, owner's manual. All right, intended use. Sanders are designed for sanding wood, plastic, composite, paint, varnish, filler, and similar materials as directed. When mixed with dust-containing metals such as when with mixed dust containing metal, such as dust resulting from paint sanding in the automotive industry. When sanding damp surfaces, special safety instructions must be followed. Sanders are not intended to be suitable for grinding bare metal. Material containing asbestos cannot be processed. All right, so that's... All right, so there's two modes. There's eccentric mode and there's polishing mode. So there's two choices there. Most of this is safety instructions, what not to do. Geared eccentric sander. So it's a geared eccentric sander. All right. Speed control. Gives you instructions on which sanding materials to use for what application, for polishing, sanding, list of accessories, that sort of thing. Okay, so it's a dual function tool. You got a cord and you got a little, looks like this is a protector shield, clips on the sander somehow here. Keeps you from bumping into the wall, is what I understand. All right. I have not plugged this in yet. I don't know about removable cord. I guess that's okay. I guess you could replace it. It'd be easy to replace, right? Well, that's interesting. It should not turn on like that when you plug it in. All right. Oh, there we go. Don't see a huge difference in the motion between the two modes. But one is better for sanding, one's faster removal. Okay, so it looks like in the second mode it's more spinny than eccentric, and in this mode more eccentric and less spinny. So more like the other sanders that I have. Okay, so attach the hose to it. One of the things I do really like about this dust extractor is that you plug a tool into it and it will turn on automatically when you turn the tool on. So I think that's good. It also has a Bluetooth capability. This track saw has is battery powered, so you can't plug it in. So it has a Bluetooth capability to turn the extractor on when you're using the saw. So it works with the battery powered tools as well as the plug-in tools. All right. So let's plug this one in, plug the dust extractor in, and we'll turn the tool on. And you see the lights come on there indicating the dust extractor is running. Now, I don't intend to perform any kind of a quantitative test of this tool. There's plenty of people on YouTube that have done that. I'm just considering how it works and give you my first impressions about the tool, its ergonomics, and its functionality, compared to what I'm used to, which is the DeWalt and Porter cable sanders. So all right, I've got the dust extractor plugged in. All right, so I find that pretty hard to hold with one hand. Let's try it in the other mode. So with this button pressed to the right, it's clearly more rotary motion, so I can feel it trying to twist the work. I would say it is not a one-handed tool. It is, you need two hands and you need to secure your work because perhaps it's how aggressive this paper is. I'm sure a less aggressive paper wouldn't tend to grab the work as much, but that's certainly, what is it, 80 grit? Yeah, 80 grit, so it's pretty aggressive. In the second mode, you would really need to have the work secured and use two hands. So it's not a one-handed, maybe with a smaller grit, 320, grit, 220, 320 grit, it might not jerk around so much. Let's give it a shot and see. I've got some somewhere. Let's see, what did I get here? This is a variety pack, 220 up to 320. $80. Okay, it's got a couple of each. 220. 220 is probably a good one to work with here. And this is kind of a mesh, so I'm sure it draws air right through it. I don't know about sanding dust, but certainly air. And the advantage of that is you don't need to match up the holes. All right, so we'll go back to the first mode, which is more spinny. Switch to the swirly mode. It's harder to control at low speed. The higher speed seems to be easier to control one-handed. Yeah, so clearly with the higher speed, the sandpaper skips across the work a little more easily, moves across the work a little more easily, so it's easier to control one-handed. Though it doesn't, I would not say this is a one-handed tool, as my DeWalt sanders are easy to use one-handed, vertical surfaces and stuff, sanding furniture. I mean, I can tell, I can feel that it's pulling the wood off the surface, but there's zero dust. I mean, there's a little bit of dust on my fingers wiping it across here, but there's no dust in the air here. I don't know that you would even need to wear a dust mask using this in most cases. I mean, unless it was something toxic, like, paint or something, I don't see any dust. So I have to say, the dust extraction is extremely effective. I do feel like sanding, holding it with one hand, it's not badly balanced, but it does tend to rock back, this way. So, which, the DeWalt sanders don't do that. The Porter cable sander would, of course, but it has a side handle. This, you would put a hand up here. I'm not sure. I think the side handle is better at countering torque. They maybe should have provided a side handle on this. I think that would have been an improvement. At least make it an optional thing. Actually, it should come with that, to be honest with you. There is a lot of twisting motion. It is a little difficult to control one-handed. So I would say it's definitely a two-handed tool. Your work's got to be secured, and it would be better if it had a side handle. There's a lot of tools I have that come with side handles. My, impact hammer drills, the DeWalt hammer drills, at least the smaller ones, I take the handle. I never use the handle. Never use the handle on a angle grinder. On the polisher and the sander, the handle is helpful because of the torque, and the ability to counter the torque is much easier with the handle out here than in the middle. So it is smaller to hold than the Porter cable sanders, I'll say that. So my first impression is it's a nicely built tool. the overriding or overwhelming thing I see with this is the dust collection is wonderful. So for that reason alone, I would buy this. I'm happy I bought this, I think. Because sanding dust is obnoxious, especially if you're sensitive to the material. And I do a lot of working in walnut and cherry. This is mahogany, a little scrap of mahogany, which I don't seem to be sensitive to. Walnut I'm a little bit sensitive to. It does make me sneeze. I mean, no allergic reaction other than, that. So dust collection is, important. If you're a young guy and you're getting into woodworking, you're in a shop, I have to say, spend money early on to get good dust collection. I've had dust collection on all my stationary power tools for 40 years, probably. Since 1990, so that's 35 years probably. And it's important. And the better your dust collection is, the better for you. You don't want to be inhaling a lot of wood dust over your lifetime. It's not good for your lungs. Okay, I expected it to be able to use it one-handed. I'm a little disappointed that it's not really a one-handed tool, because I do a lot of work on small parts, and being able to sand small parts, I'm tempted to pull out the DeWalt. If I were to sand this, for example, I'd be tempted to pull out the DeWalt just so that I can do it without having to fight the sander and have more consistent, because this jumps around a little bit. So I don't know that this would be what I would, pick for a, sanding a lot of small parts and stuff. Like if you were say you're making cutting boards. Unless you had a jig to drop the cutting board into that held it stationary, I'm not so sure this would be what I would use. And perhaps the answer or the counter to that is, yes, it would be the one to use. The fact that the dust collection is so good would justify spending some time to secure the work. So, that may be something to think about. If you're building toys for kids, you've got a lot of small parts, you'd want to sand, that would be tough with this. I don't know that you would do that. That's where the DeWalt sander would work, and maybe in that case you would use a downdraft table, for example, to manage the dust coming off that DeWalt sander, and rig up a suction hose on it, vacuum on it. So I would say, it's a nice tool, feels good, but it's not what I would pick for sanding small parts. Now, I'm assuming, I don't know that much about the Festool line of tools. I bet they have a smaller one that would work great for that other purpose, and that this is intended for sanding larger surfaces and using it two-handed. So, I don't think I would use this on polishing, automotive, or boat application under any circumstances. I'm kind of a fan of the rotary polishers. I have a large Hitachi electronic variable speed polisher, rotary polisher, and that's what you would use for compounding, gel coat, polishing. A smaller one for a car. I mean, there are other brands that specialize in car polishing. So I think I would buy one of those more specialized tools for doing a car. So I don't know that, I don't think I will ever use this for its polishing. It's, You can't slow it down enough for some situations where you want to move slower. Doesn't have the side handle. The discs are too small for that anyway. You would never polish a boat, for example, with a 5-inch. I mean, unless you were doing some small area, it doesn't make sense. Or even a car. You would use a 6 or 7-inch polisher with a, lamb's wool bonnet, cutting compound or polishing compound. From my perspective here, it's a 2-mode sander. And that's how I would use it. And on larger pieces of wood, say you glued up a panel and you needed to, get rid of the glue squeeze out and smooth the panel out, I could see using this. The panel's big enough that it wouldn't jump around, and you could use this two-handed. From what I've seen on the reviews on on YouTube, it's rapid material removal. So I don't know that you can do any better than these tools for that purpose. So, all right, well, that's my first take on this tool. I like the integration with the dust extractor. The hose fits. The extractor removes, I don't know what the percentage is, but virtually all of the dust created by the tool. So that in itself is a bonus. So, all right, fits in the box nicely. There's room in the box for accessories. You can get the different polishing discs and stuff. You can put in the box here with it. I think there's room for the cord. Actually, it probably goes underneath it. I have historically not kept tools in containers like this, though this sustainer system that Festool has is interesting. It's my first experience with this, and I know other brands have, similar tool cases. If you're a professional and you're going from job site to job site, you may want to have something like this to hold your tools and all the parts for it together. Working in your own workshop, I keep my sanders in the drawer here. This is my bench where I have all my sanders, got my plate joiner in there, and then my abrasives, in these two drawers. So that's where I keep all my stuff. So for me, this working in a workshop, that's my work process. All right, folks, that's going to wrap this up. I didn't want to do any kind of quantitative test of this tool since it's been done so many times. I wanted to give you my perspective as someone who has used kind of standard tools, legacy tools for decades, moving into a higher end tool with new technology, and my impressions of that and my perceptions on how I might use this new tool. So a couple takeaways. The dust extraction is excellent. Your lungs are important. Wearing a face mask is uncomfortable. So I think that in itself is a big plus for this tool. And my experience with Festool, their dust extractor and their tools, is that the dust collection on the track saw is also excellent. So, I think those are two big reasons to use their dust extractor and their tools. Now, other brands have similar setups, I'm sure, and other tools are maybe less expensive. I think there's others that are even more expensive than these. But this system together does work excellent. And so you have the interoperability of the extractor and the tools. It's set up well, and I especially like the extractor where you can plug the tool into it and it turns on and off automatically, plus the Bluetooth function for battery operated tools. Now I only have 2 Festool. This is just my second Festool purchase. I have the, well, if you count the dust extractor, third. I have the track saw and I have this sander. And so I'm a little disappointed it's not more one-hand friendly. You know, that's maybe neither a plus nor a minus. Minus is it doesn't have a side handle, which I think would be, I think it would be helpful. My feeling is, I would rather do that than have the hand over the top of it. I'd rather have the side handle. So I think that's a miss on the Festool Ergonomics. The removable power cord, I guess it's good if you need to replace it. If you're a professional and you're using stuff every day and you're dragging around job sites, being able to replace the power cord, maybe is a good thing. So I don't have an issue with that. It's thoughtful. So those are my initial thoughts here on using this tool. I think it has a place here. So I would pull this out and use it for anything, any kind of a panel that I might be sanding. And I do that when I'm building furniture. And I'm using usually the DeWalt, little pad sanders. So I would use this instead because the panel's not going to move around. If I were making small parts and needed to sand a bunch of little small parts, I don't think I would use this because you just can't hold the part and sand it with this. Not practical, whereas I could do that with the DeWalt sander. So I think it has its uses here, but it's not the all solution to all things sanding. Those are my thoughts. If you have this tool and are using it, tell me what you think about it. Am I off base, or other things that I haven't covered? And I haven't done in-depth review of all the functions and controls and everything on it. There's other people doing that, so it'd be redundant for me to do that. But I did want to give you my perspective as a 50-year serious hobbyist woodworker with a large catalog of furniture that I've built over the decades. So if you go back through some of my earlier videos, you'll see some of the pieces of furniture that I've built. Leave me a comment if you disagree with me. Leave me a comment if you agree with me, if you have any opinions, and we'll see you next week.